Free Bam by Black Future. Hey, so sorry for all those false starts. Here I am for real this time. No more takebacks. I'm holding my phone, which is not what I wanted to be doing, but me and my tripod weren't friends, and so probably gonna end up buying another one. I already have two, so whatever. If you have tripod advice, let me know, because apparently I need it. So hi, I'm gonna try and not be on here for a million years, and so we'll see how that goes. Shout out to my dreadlocks out here flourishing. Shout out to a full face that I haven't done in forever. So, for those of my beauty-minded friends, that was for you guys. Thanks, Nathan. I am here to talk today about, first off, about Juneteenth. Sorry, that's why I didn't want to be holding my phone, but whatever. First off, about Juneteenth. So, I think you guys have seen the videos. There's some articles. I need to still go back and find. Oh, well, I usually post it on the 4th of July, but it would be appropriate still today for everybody to see, what is the 4th of July to the Negro. I'm not going to pretend like I remember which of our excellent late Black authors wrote that, but somebody awesome. And my friend Sandino did another version of it a few years back, so I'll see if I can find those, and if not, then you'll see them on the 4th of July when I post those and don't do anything red, white, and blue. A couple of things, especially because this is my teacher podcast. Let's see, 4 years ago, I don't exactly remember. 4 years ago feels right. When I first started realizing that the Black experience is different than the rest of America's experience on a couple of different levels, like on a even deeper level than I already knew. I posted on Instagram because Instagram is my social medium of choice. I posted on there, like, no red, white, and blue for me, like no Star Spangled Banner, whatever. And I went to the fairgrounds with my white friends, because the Philharmonic always plays and I love music. And so I went to hear the music, not really thinking about the fact that it was the 4th of July, so everything was going to be super duper patriotic. And if I get cut off, I'll come back. My phone is plugged in, but it's telling me it needs to charge, but it's plugged in. So anyway, I just wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't considering that I was going to be put in a place where I was going to have to decide, like, okay, so we're all supposed to stand up for the anthem now. And I'm not really a stand up for the anthem girl anymore. We're supposed to, like, wax all super patriotic right now, and I'm not that girl anymore. And it's weird also for me because I grew up with military people around me, and like my grandfather was in the military and my uncle was in the military and my cousins' husbands were in the military, and so it was difficult. And I don't actually I'm not a person who's like disrespecting the military. I think that appreciating the people who have served our country is separate from the semi-worshipful way that we sing to America. I think those two things are different. Anyway, I posted about all that, like what independence, what freedom, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember exactly what I said. It'll pop up in my memories on the 4th of July, but I posted it, and a white woman who I had taught with at a previous school, went ham on me. She was like, I cannot believe you're being so disrespectful to our country. I can't believe you're being so disrespectful to history. I don't understand what you're so upset about. 4 years ago makes sense also, because that would have been, hey Vita, that would have been when Black Lives Matter was like wasn't popping yet. Like it was, but it wasn't, you know. Shout out to Tumblr and Zelly Imani, because I feel like I was kind of I was privileged enough to see the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement, and I started talking about it before a lot of my friends, not because it was my original thought, but because, like I said, people like Zelly Imani were talking about it on the coast. And so anyway, my first reaction to her was like, I don't understand why this is so personal to you. I'm not bashing white people. I said something also in my post about like Pan-Africanism and like all black everything, Black Lives Matter, that kind of thing. And I was like, so I don't understand why you're so mad at me, as if I said something against white people, which I didn't. All I did was talk about the history of America, which we know is not like a cushy, wonderful history. And I said, on top of all of that, I always thought that we were cool. Like, I always liked you. I always thought that you were a really nice person. This is going to get sticky. And I really appreciated that you, as a white woman, were so good to the kids at our school. I actually considered her, I was telling her, I consider you to be one of those white people who I don't hate, who doesn't get on my nerves, who I don't feel like is like just using us for a meal ticket or whatever. Like, I felt like you were doing it for the passion, and I really appreciate and respect that. So all those things to say, like, you're mad at me when I'm not even talking about you. Jesse Williams said in a famous clip, like, if I throw a rock into a crowd and I hit you, like, it totally makes sense that you would scream. But if I don't hit you, then why are you screaming? And that's definitely how I felt about what she was saying to me. Like, I'm not mad at you. Why are you screaming? I'm not mad at you. This isn't about you. You weren't a slave owner. You didn't, steal us from Africa. Like, this isn't towards you. Stop borrowing offense if you want to do Christianese. And so that was really hard. The conversation did not like go uphill. I don't care how you feel about me personally. You're putting this out there in the world, which is like bashing all white people, which I don't know that that really is what it was, and bashing America. And regardless of how you feel about me personally, I don't appreciate that, and blah, blah, blah. And then she blocked me. And I was really sad because I really did like her. I really did think she was a nice person. I really did think that she was a good teacher, and I was really sad. Really sad. So, talking about this kind of stuff in public, it goes both ways for me, right? Like, my white friends get mad, my black friends think it's good. Historically, like, black people have not always thought that I was down for them, which is interesting. And of course, life is a winding road, and we glow up and we evolve and we change, and it all kind of goes and flows together, right? So I wanted to tell that story. Juneteenth is Black independence, supposedly. It's what a lot of us have adopted as Black independence. And that's how I want to celebrate it with my family. That's how I want to celebrate it going forth. And so that's why I'm making this video. That's topic number 1. I don't know that I have anything else I want to say about Juneteenth. Let's get into curriculum of the mind. So, I have not had conversations with Stevie. Jacoby and I have been planning to talk education for months, and I like tried over spring break and then it didn't work, and so now it's summer, I'm going to try again. I still need to have a follow-up conversation with Juice Touré about school choice, and Beatty Man and I talked a couple of weeks ago, just really briefly, about education stuff. I know a little bit more of his story because I know him a little bit better. Not Fresh, that's Jacoby, sorry. Original Flow, Chris, and I have not talked about this topic ever at all. And so I would be really curious to talk to him about it. I do know that back when I was more regularly listening to the rap podcasts, Jacoby and Chris Flo were talking about various education topics, like during the walkout last year and things of that nature. And so I know that in general, like, they support education, but obviously everything's got its problems and issues. And so Jacoby was really explicit. It popped up in my memories recently. It was over a year ago, a conversation about the reality of education versus like the reality of life, especially life as a Black person. It was about like teaching financial literacy in schools, and I was like, but we do. And he was like, but we don't everywhere. And I'm like, but we do. And he was like, but we don't everywhere, which is fine. I mean, different people have different experiences. That's why I love talking to people. So he has a line in a song. I don't know what song it is, but he says something along the lines of like, I respect the teachers who cared, but I still feel like I was lied to. And I am just now kind of getting to a point where I can really admit that my perspective about education, public education, higher education, all of these things are unique to me. I didn't want them to be unique to me because I didn't want to act like I think I'm special. I didn't want to seem like I was special. I wanted to just be any and every other Black girl. But I think that there are several circumstances that have led my lifestyle to be different than a lot of other Black girls or Black people in general. And so as much as I want to be like everybody else, I think I kind of have to realize that I'm not. First and foremost being the fact that my grandmother would not let me use slang when I was little. It just was not a thing that was allowed. Hold on. Okay. She wouldn't let me. Like, if I said something, in slang, she would correct me. And you know how Black grandmas are. It's funny because my grandma is funny. She very much is a Black grandma, like, without being one. You'd have to know her / ask me later. I'm not going to say it on camera. I'm not going to tell those deep, in-depth stories about her on camera. But so she wouldn't let me use slang. So I think the combination of her not letting me and me watching Clueless literally every day for several months as a younger kid, I think that those things really, really, hey Eugene, really, really impacted my accent or lack thereof, my syntax, my vocabulary, and also, like, let's be honest, being a nerd and reading all the time and spending a lot of time around adults and talking to adults. I had an old mom, and so I was around her and her friends all the time, and I think that, like, has an effect on it. And I knew people told me I talked like a white girl. I had an ex who said the very first thing he ever noticed about me was that I was raised around white people, which, I mean, I put it in air quotes because it's what he said, but, I mean, it's not false. And then And I went to private school, right? And not all, but the vast majority of my teachers were white. Um, Justin, what's up? And so I had a unique experience. Um, the white kids used to tell me I talked white. The black kids definitely told me I talked white. Also, of course, the black kids were in the minority. As I got older, we all kind of, like, a lot of us kind of stayed in the same circles. The people I went to elementary with, if I didn't go to junior high with them, I met up with them again when I changed to private high school. I went to private school through ninth grade. And then I went to public high school to Midwest City. And so I did not go to Star Spencer, which is where I should have gone. Life would have been even different, even more. So I sorry, I got distracted because it was giving me a notification that I didn't know what it was. Oh, right. So I was saying, the black kids that I grew up with in my neighborhood and etc., like, a lot of our paths kind of stayed on the same path. All of us private school kids, most of us didn't stay in private school the whole time. We ended up meeting up later at other schools, and I went to 3 different ones, and so whatever. Anyway, one of them was all black, by the way. It's no longer in business. Are schools in business? They totally are. Anyway, it's no longer a school, but that's something that I want to talk to you guys about some point later. Anybody who has been to one of our all black private schools, I would love to hear your stories. I was traumatized because I wasn't black enough, and the teachers and the students and the everybody made sure to point it out to me all the time. But I went to high school, and I, was sort of normal, but in a lot of high schools, you stratify. That's a word, right? Where, the regular kids go to regular class, and the honors kids go to honors classes, and the AP kids, and the kids who are involved, and the kids who are not involved, and the kids who are into sports, and the ones who are not into sports. And so I found my clique, and, it was us, the same 6 or 8 black girls in the clique, and that was both a good thing and a bad thing. So then I went back to private school for college, and that was strange. There are a lot of things. I should do a whole post just about OCU. Good times. I wouldn't change it, but it was weird. I would not be who I am today if it were not for the Black Student Association at OCU. And yet, as I go back and talk to those friends, they were still having different experiences from me, primarily because I joined a, quote, white sorority. So I've talked about this in the past, but if you have not been following me, I did not talk about it. I haven't talked about it anytime recently. And if I had not, hey girl, you will find this part of the conversation fascinating, based on your recent life experiences. So if I hadn't lived that life, if I hadn't joined the sorority, perhaps my PWI experience would have been more like those of my friends in BSA, because, the Greeks are the popular kids. Like, that's the jock crowd from high school, right? And I mean, it's slightly different at OCU because there's not really jocks. They're, dancers and theater majors. And I was in the least jock cheerleader sorority of the 3. But it still was what it was, right? But then I went to the Big 12 Conference on Black Student Government, that I'm pretty sure still happens, and I hope is still awesome. And it changed my life. And I mean, obviously I knew that there were like different kinds of Black people, but I had never experienced them. And this is probably going to sound sort of bad or weird, but it's a good analogy, I think. The Black kids that I met when I went to Big 12 were the Hillman Black kids. Like, I I had a few friends who went to Langston. I had a few friends who went to other places, but like, you know, Hillman is Hillman. And I didn't know the Hillman Black kids till I went to Big 12. And I was like, oh, these are my actual friends. Like, these are the people that I've been looking for. And then, of course, I went back to school and was like, F the police. Hey, BD, I'm so glad you're watching. I talked about you earlier. You'll have to go back and listen. So I told that whole backstory because my experience is different than a lot of other people's experience. I talk white. I was raised around white people. I grew up white. I went to private school and then public school and then private school again and then public school again. I graduated from UCO. And so as I'm listening to Curriculum of the Mind, I'm so sad. So sad. And I mean, the character, Dede, is telling us a sad story, right? He feels trapped. He feels angry. He feels futile. His mom is struggling. He wants to make money. He doesn't, like, this education stuff is going to help later, but it's not helping now. What's going to help now? What's going to help now? And I get it. I do. Because I have always been in financial straits. And if it weren't for like my grandparents helping my mom and I out, we would have been in a way more difficult place than we were. So I get it. But I have, like I said, I didn't want to see myself as special. I didn't want to be different. I wanted to be just like any other Black girl. So it's like, if I read a lot of books and had a big vocabulary and was able to have good grades and be in the honors and AP classes and get into the good schools and get the scholarships and things like that, then anybody could. All you have to do is read to your kid. All you have to do is teach your kid big words. All you have to do is encourage your kid to get good grades. I didn't want my grandmother not allowing me to use slang to be a thing that like legitimately separated me from other people in a super significant way, in a way that's more significant than having people tell me I talk white. I wanted that to be the end all be all of it, but I don't think it was. When I got to UCO, I took linguistics with Dr. Carroll, and I'm a little sad that I hadn't gotten to take linguistics earlier, because if I had, I would have potentially become a linguist because I'm fascinated by language. We talked about accents and dialects and pidgin languages and different enunciations and pronunciations, etc. And how like having an accent versus not having an, I've also never considered myself to have an accent. People from California say, or people who know people from California say, like, I say that I talk like I'm from California as opposed to I talk white. I don't know how valid that is because I've never been to California, but we got to talking about all of those things, and I made a comment about my grandmother not letting me have. She didn't let me speak Ebonics. She didn't let me speak American Black English Vernacular. And Dr. Carroll said, as much as that annoyed you when you were younger, I think that has probably helped you more than you know. And at the time, I was like, yeah, maybe. Nah. But I really never wanted that to be the difference maker. So I'm gonna just read this little section from the song Guard Your Brilliance. I think this is the part that Jacoby is rapping on, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I stumble because I was writing fast, so my writing might not be as clear as I would want it to be. So he said, at school, because the whole album is about a Black kid at a PWI, predominantly white institution. He said, counselors telling students they ain't college material, way different from what we hearing blaring out the stereo. They was demonizing what had gave me hope. All a young nigga needed was somebody to say we know. Their perception of our character was based on the way we spoke. Can't wait to see how mad they get when they see the papers I wrote. So I even hated myself while I was reading that, because like I sound real white, but like I can rap. Y'all just don't know me. Y'all don't be with me at the rap shows. Okay, so I heard that line, their perception of our character was based on the way we spoke. And I've never heard anybody say that out loud before. I know that to be true. If you sound ghetto, it means you are ghetto, whatever ghetto sounds like, right? Speaking Ebonics, speaking ABEV, code switching, not code switching. And so now I'm... Okay, thank you, Will. I wasn't sure. Thank you for correcting me. Because when I listened to it like 5 times, the line is, all a young nigga needed was somebody to say he dope. I thought that it might have been that. I couldn't decide if it was say he know or say he dope. So thank you for correcting me. I appreciate you. And yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Okay, so... My grandmother halfway traumatized me by never letting me talk like my friends. And I spent all of elementary and middle school as like the not black enough black girl because I didn't speak Ebonics. And yet I got to college and I didn't have the experience of counselors or anybody telling me where I couldn't or couldn't go and what I could or couldn't do based on how I spoke. I'm all about the code switch, but I think code switching is a thing we learn to do as we get older, right? Not a thing that we grow up doing. And so like the question that brings to mind is, what should we be doing with our kids? Because I will say that my grandmother is very much a product of her generation. She's 86, and she's absolutely like a beacon of that generation, because like you were going to go to school. I don't care what else you were going to do. You were going to go to school. You were going to graduate from high school. You were going to go to college. And you could only go to an HBCU because that's all that was available to you. You were going to go and you were going to study and you were going to graduate and you were going to do something with your life, because the generation before them couldn't do those things. And so you were going to do them because you can, and so you will. And that's referenced on the album as well, like we owe it to our ancestors or whatever. And there are some people who believe that we still owe our ancestors everything, and there's some people who believe that we don't anymore, like we've evolved past that. And so, grandmother was the daughter of a principal, and she has a degree in music that she never used because she never had a job. But you just got a degree because that's what you were supposed to do. So do we need to get back to the days of correcting our kids' grammar and making sure that they speak standard American English so that they're not discredited for speaking ABEV/Ebonics? Or do we continue to say like, F you guys, this is how we talk and this is going to be how we talk and I don't care how you feel about it? Which one is more beneficial for our kids on the whole? And then the other big question that came to my mind while listening to Curriculum of the Mind was, do we need to go back to feeding ourselves, our kids, into HBCUs instead of PWIs? Because at the very least, there's a community there. Theoretically, the professors and the counselors and the people at HBCUs understand where our kids are coming from and understand the struggles that they might have at home and are keeping things relevant. I will say, in terms of HBCU, I know Langston has a good education program. I don't know. Back when I was in school, and I'm not speaking from authority, this is just hearsay. I had a friend who was an English major there who said he thought the English department was crap. The research that I have done, which has been not very much, has been a teeny tiny little itty tiny bit, but the research that I've done doesn't have HBCUs excelling in the liberal arts because they're not practical. It's all about getting us out of poverty, which I get it. But a person like me who's an artist, are we going to go to an HBCU and be a part of and again, not trying to be disrespectful, but a subpar liberal arts program when we could just as easily go to UCO and be a part of a good liberal arts program? That's just another question. Several questions. I'm going to type all these out in the comments so people can say what they want to say. And this is my last thing. I'm going to end with another quote from a song from the album. This is my last statement. I started heavily listening to rap and going to local rap shows. I always listened to rap. Let me stop tripping. When I went to college, I stopped caring about cussing and stuff like that. And so I started listening to a wider range of rap music than I had listened to when I was younger. When I was younger, it was all Kirk Franklin and the edited version of Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor, etc. As I got older, I started listening to more of everything and going to shows. And I met JB and BD and Tony LTZ and Worm and all of them and started going to all their shows. So that was all my sophomore, junior, senior year of college, at the same time that I left OCU and went to UCO, at the same time that I was having friction in the sorority, at the same time that I went to Big 12. And I always felt like any of those guys could have successfully gotten an English degree in college, and like, why did nobody want that? Duh, because you can't make any money at that. And so those are all of my thoughts. Hopefully this was not long and boring. Hopefully it was long and interesting. Leave me all the comments, ask me all the questions. I am not an authority on anything. I do not make any rules. I just talk about stuff. So if you disagree, let me know. If you have answers to my questions, let me know. I'm going to type out my questions and post them in the comments. Please share. Please, tag your friends. I'm pretty sure I already made this public. Tag your friends so that they can join the conversation. I want to hear what everybody has to say. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your Juneteenth. I'm about to go pick up my kid here in a little bit, and I'll talk to you later.